Hey guys, HUEBERT here. If this is the first time you're watching my content, well, first off, thank you, but my main game has been DNF Duel ever since it launched over a year ago, and I've been playing the character we're going to be talking about today, Berserker, at the highest level ever since. So if you're looking for a tutorial or a refresher on how to play the character and what has changed, you've come to the right place. I also have a bunch of Berserker gameplay content on the channel, as I post most of my tournament runs, and stream almost every day over on my Twitch, link is in the description. So make sure to like the video, subscribe, and go follow me on Twitch. And with that out of the way, let's get right into the video. Now, let's talk about what has changed with the new system changes in general for this patch. Patch 1.40 introduced a new mechanic called Indomitable Spirit, which is a defensive mechanic that's used to lower the guard damage taken on a blocked move and give it in chip instead. So when you IS a move, which is back in conversion at the same time, instead of taking a bunch of guard damage, the guard damage is limited and you are taking the damage in chip instead. What this means is that some defensive situations in this game are going to be a lot different with the use of IS, and this does include Berserker. It is mostly the fact because it reduces the pushback on blocked moves. For example, this is what it looks like without IS, and this is what it looks like with IS. As you can see, they're still right on top of you, so you're taking no pushback, and they'll still be right on top of you. However, depending on the move blocked, it will change the frame advantage. So some moves are good to IS, and some moves are bad to IS, so make sure to experiment with it. Another change added to the game is back roll. This is using the same motion as forward roll, just backwards this time, with the guard button. This doesn't really affect Berserker's game plan in any way or neutral. It does help to get us engaged in most situations, so it could be helpful for him. However, with Frenzy, you should be able to punish it every time if they do it on Wake Up. Now, another niche change they added is you can now cancel into throw on block. You can't cancel throw on whiff, but you can cancel it on block. This could be used for some cheeky resets on your pressure. However, you can't take your turn back after doing this if they're fast enough, especially with like a faster button, so I wouldn't use this too much. Overall, it's not that great for Berserker. But they did change the scaling on some of the normals in the game, like 5B or JA for example, and the JA change definitely affects Berserker a lot because you would find yourself doing a lot of JA starters. So pre-patch, if you landed a JA, you would get a lot of damage because the scaling on it was like a B starter. But now it is more like a light starter. So, routes like this don't really work anymore, as you can see. So instead, you would treat this as a light starter now, like a 2A for example. So this is a 2A regular combo, and that's the most you will get off of JA with the new balance patch. Now for the scaling in general, it does affect a lot of its routes. I'll be going over it later in the video, but the combo routes have definitely changed a lot, so you'll definitely have to learn them to secure the most damage possible and make sure you don't drop your combos. One of the biggest changes this patch is that guard gauges are reduced. I'll be going over this later in the video, but guard gauges being reduced is very good for Berserker as we generally do a lot of guard damage. And with some new gapless strings, he'll definitely be a lot scarier on his offense. Now let's go over the changes for Berserker himself. The nerf to his mana regen is definitely going to hurt him in the long run. He won't be as threatening last patch because it takes a while for him to regain his mana, especially if he's outside of his awakening. This nerf mostly matters more at near the end of combos because at the start of combos, it's usually meterless, so you gain a lot of time to get your mana back. However, this is going to affect routes where you are not using conversion to get your mana back, as you won't have as much mana as you had after you end your combo as last patch. Now with the new 5B changes, if you hit the move at its very tip range, this is the most you were able to get last patch. Now combined with other changes, you are able to actually combo from your max range 5B into a full corner carry setup. This is very good for his round start potential and his 5B in general, as Frenzyless 5B usually wasn't that good if it was used at max range. But now it is definitely a lot more threatening, so make sure to use it, and I'll be going over combos with it later in the video. One of his more interesting changes this patch is the ability to Kara cancel your 4S into dive kick. This also changes the way some loops are performed, so last patch you would go into 4S into 6M for a loop. But now if you do a longer combo and get into that loop, you will see that that will actually drop out. Like that. So what we do to remedy this is instead of going for a 4S on loops, we do 5S and then to the Kara dive kick for an OTG. Now on block is a good way to close the distance on your opponent. However, please note that 5S into 4S card cancel is gapped. Now against most characters, if their DP is fast enough, you won't be able to land and conversion in time to keep yourself safe. However, on characters with slower DPs like Launcher, you are actually going to land and convert to keep yourself safe against these DPs and punish. This can also segue into the next change where Berserker's dive kick on block is a lot more minus. Which means if dive kick is blocked and you activate Frenzy, it is no longer your turn and the opponent can attack back for free. Do note if they like to go for a 2A to take back their turn, you can also do an instant backdash cancel to go over it and punish. Make sure to experiment with that. However, dive kick also got a big buff as well. It also launches them higher, allowing for easier pickups and actual new combo routes because of it. Now, the nerf to 5MS, which is our Frenzy activate, makes it so we don't regen mana as fast. This does affect his access to more mana in neutral as well, but if you're landing a hit, you usually are going for a big meterless combo anyways to get your mana back, so it doesn't really matter, but in combo, it's definitely a big nerf. Speaking of big nerfs, one of his best starters, Bloody Twister, has now become a very bad starter, and you can only really get a hard knockdown depending on your combo. You are able to combo more off of it if you have more mana to spare, but you usually aren't. This is a big nerf as last patch. The fear of Twister and how much damage you took from getting hit by Twister was a very good thing in neutral, but now that is usually gone and the reward off of it is a lot less, and you're spending a lot of mana. However, another big buff to Berserker is that he can now jump cancel off of 6MS. Now you might be thinking, what use does that have? You're not really getting a combo with it anyway. I'll be going over it more in the game plan and combo section of the video. So when you are jump canceling his 6M, you can actually Tiger Knee into his other mana skills. Now along with the next buff we were talking about, which is his command grab is now able to be used in combo. Instead of needing Frenzy to convert off of 6M, you can actually TK into 5M and end with the command grab to gain all that white health back and not spend any conversion whatsoever. I'll be going over this more in the game plan section. This allows for Berserker to be played in a completely different way than we ever thought of. Now the other changes I haven't talked about too much, which are the changes to his DP, changes to his 5S, and the changes to his JM are not that impactful, so we don't really need to go over them. Now let's talk about the biggest thing that's come with this patch, which is the addition to Clear Cube and Gold Cube. Now notice how I'm already in the Clear Cube. This is because this is the premier cube to be used with Berserker. Now, as you can see, the 50% cube allows for it to be activated at 50% HP, which is very good when we want to keep our HP high, as well as the buffs, which are movement speed and MP recovery, as well as guard damage, which is all very good buffs that Berserker can use to his advantage and play around them very well. Now, his gold cube is like his previous awakening where he gained health back. He also does get a damage buff with this, but the changes in Clear Cube are just so much better. I feel like personally that you should be using Clear Cube all the time. Now let's talk about the mana regen buff, which makes his mana recover a lot faster than outside of Awakening, as you can see here. It also allows you to gain more mana while comboing, which also helps with the end of his combos where you're just dumping all of your meter to end up trying to kill someone. Overall, you'll be doing less damage as you would in Gold Cube with 30% Awakening, as well as the fact that the super in Clear Cube only does 150 scale damage compared to the 200 in Gold Cube. You'll be able to secure kills more often because of the fact that you get Awakening at 50% instead of 30%, which gives you more freedom to play at a higher percent and then put yourself on Awakening to secure the kill, which we'll be going over later in the combo section on how to get that. Now, even though you don't regain the health back, the movement speed lets you play more control of neutral, so you aren't whiffing and converting it much. So for example, if you whiff a button, you would usually use conversion to keep yourself safe, which now that we don't have that life regen, we will never be getting that HP back. However, because of the movement speed, you shouldn't be whiffing moves as much, allowing for this to not be such a regular occurrence. And if you're spending a lot of time in Frenzy trying to move around the opponent, you can always also end combos in command grab to get all that white health back. I believe that the movement speed buff is going to be changing a lot of matchups, especially characters where you can dance around their neutral buttons and don't keep you on lockdown around like this range. Running up and command grabbing on opponents are going to be a lot easier in Clear Cube. As you can see, that's how fast it was outside of Awakening, and this is how fast it is in Awakening. And this is what it looks like in Awakening with Frenzy. So definitely abuse the movement speed, especially when you have your opponent cornered, as keeping them cornered around this range is definitely very good. Also, definitely get used to canceling your dash with the guard button and pressing down to cancel your momentum and try and fake out your opponent, and then when you're ready, run in and command grab. Definitely a good way to open people up. Now, another big change is the guard damage buff, so you will actually be doing a lot more guard damage while you are in Awakening. Now, because of this change, and along with the movement speed change, allow me to show you something. Now let's talk about changes to his game plan. Depending on the matchup, if 5B is a viable option round start, you can set up a good 2-touch on the next hit using the new buffs and the damage you get off of a 5B confirmed max range. If you want to disengage round start, your next hit will most likely happen with at least 90 to 80% health, and you can choose to either put yourself near Awakening or heal your health back depending on your combo routing and what the combo starter was. If you landed a light starter like a JA, 2A, or a non-frenzy 5A, you can choose to go for a high life game plan, which would require more interaction with your opponent, but reduces the risk you take on losing life to do more damage and gain more mana. However, if you land a good starter like a frenzy 5A or 5B, you can spend your life to try and get a kill on the next hit. I will now explain how his combo structure works and how you can adapt it to your certain situation and win condition. First, you have your starter. This is the start of the combo where you will usually end in J2S into either a 6MS or a Frenzy 5MS. Here are examples of starters. After that, you can choose what path you want to go with the combo. If you want to regain your lost health from Frenzy, do 6MS into a Tiger Knee 5MS. To do this, you have to tap up at 5MS around the same frame. Make sure to practice the timing, as this is crucial to his combo structure. Now, after you reactivate, pick up with the second hit of Frenzy 5B like before, but instead of going for another 6MS or Frenzy 5MS loop, end in 5S, 4S, and do 4MS to regain all of your life. You can then hit 4S after for an OTG that allows you to reactivate Frenzy and get a safe jump. Now, if you want to spend your white life in exchange for more damage and being closer to Awakening, do a delay Frenzy 5MS. Then before the second part of the Frenzy 5MS, use Conversion and immediately cancel into Frenzy. Then do both Frenzy 5A and 5AA, 5B, 2B, 5S, then press 4S but Kara cancel it into J2S to OTG, then hit 6MS immediately after. You can then do 4S, Conversion to gain a ton of mana back, 5S, 4S, and Frenzy to activate for your safe jump. Now the last combo path is a meter dump to kill. This is how it is done. Start with the Frenzy 5MS route from last time, but after the 6MS, do a TK 5MS and then hit a 5S at the very tip height. Then cancel into 4S and Frenzy 5MS. Now, if you have left with at least 31 mana, you can activate Frenzy, then Frenzy 5MS to get the max damage possible. Then, as they start to land, hit Awakening to hit them out of the air to get a super. You can do a micro dash after the 5 ms to get the timing consistent. If you have less than 31 mana, scoop them out of the air with 4 ms, then hit Awaken immediately after to OTG Super. Now, for the part of the video that everyone's been waiting for, welcome to the combo section. Note that all the combos here are definitely not optimal, but are showcasing the different combo styles you can go into, using the different enders we talked about earlier. This is also a chance to showcase what Berserker is capable of in the new patch with his combo routing. And we will end with the final combo being the optimal DP punish. So, sit back, relax, and enjoy the combos.
want you back in, but you sure got the clue how much this without control no more. And as you look to the horizon, not the clouds, I'm wondering where this country goes. Seems like you took that out of nowhere, all around you. It's not quite what you forgot. You never see it coming. Why does the eagle set the narrow with blue skies from the lightning that you were freezing? It's not an accident that no one hears your cries as your mountain seems to dissolve. You never see